Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Allie from Allie G Reads, and this is my March wrap-up. I've read 13 books. Yay me. I didn't get a chance to film anything last weekend. The dog was a little ill, and I was tired by the time I was done with it, and I said fuck it. But now I'm back, and I'm actually excited to talk to you about these books. There's definitely going to be something for everybody. I have a mixed bag here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's going to be some I hate, some I love, and there's some that are like meh, but I think other people will like them. So without further ado, let's get started. I'll start with the ones I got from the library because it's just easier. So the first one I got was Earthlings. Sayaka Murata? I'm probably saying that wrong, and I apologize. This is translated from Japanese, I think. And it's an odd one. The cute cover is a little bit misleading. It's a dark one, and it's odd. So basically what this book is it's following a young girl into adulthood, and she believes that she's from another planet, and she is not an earthling. And this ended up being very dark. A lot of trigger warnings, a lot of content warnings, incest, sexual abuse of a child, cannibalism. Did I say incest? Anyway, it's got a couple very dark taboo subjects, and it's written in a way that doesn't address them as badly necessarily. It's weird. All I can say, the best way to describe this is you're basically reading an account of someone trying to figure out how to deal with trauma. And that's the best way I can put it. This was very weird, very dark, very short, but I give it a 3-star. I think it's good. I just know this won't be for everybody. So do with that what you will. And then I grabbed an Agatha Christie book because I'm on an Agatha Christie binge lately, and I would like to try to read all of her books this year. So the one I grabbed from the library was The Murder on the Orient Express. This is a Poirot Mystery. I think it's one of the best rated of Christie books. However, it wasn't my favorite. Doesn't mean it's bad, because to be honest, I don't know if this woman could write a bad book. So I gave it a 3-star because it's good, and I think a lot of people, like the masses, really love this book, and there's definitely a reason. So I think it was just the pacing, because I think her biggest cast of characters, there's probably close to 10 people, and Poirot has to interview each of them to get their statement while they're all on the train. You know, it's closer mystery as she does best. It just didn't nail it home for me. I think it was because of the pacing. Of course, I didn't know the ending, but I think that the ending was kind of more ambiguous than her other books too, which was interesting. Like, you can tell as Christie, as I'm reading more of her books, like, she definitely tried to do something different every time. And I never guessed the killer, of course, because I never do. And so I do recommend this. I haven't seen the movie, but I will watch it. But again, it just wasn't my favorite Christie. And then I read Crooked House, also by Christie. Crooked House I gave it a 3-star. Again, good. It just wasn't my favorite. But what I will say is this did something different. It's not a Poirot. It's not a Miss Marple. It's a standalone. And I think for the 40s, it was probably a much darker ending. And I think if people read it in the 40s, it probably blew them away. I didn't guess the killer again. Killer was not who it plays it to be. But again, it just wasn't like my favorite of hers. But what I will say is this is Christie's favorite of hers. So it's obviously, you have to read it. It is hers. It's quite a dark ending, actually. It just, again, just not for me. But I gave 3 stars. It's still good. People will love it. It just wasn't for me. So I still stand by And Then There Were None being leaps and bounds above it. But this is her favorite. This is personal to her. So have to read it and still love it. My nonfiction read of the month, The Shortest History of Germany. Yes, I'm wearing a German shirt. By James Hawes. I'm wearing a Rammstein shirt. Duh. Basically, this takes 2,000 years of German history and condenses it to 250 pages. So you get a snippet of everything from the Roman days to, of course, World War II, World War I, to Merkel and the Berlin Wall and everything in between. And you realize that Germany does have a really dark history and has a really violent history, actually. I'm surprised at just how much it's been through as a country. So it was very interesting. They cover even like the films and like the great films that came out in the 20s and stuff, that a hugely impacted film as we know it today. And it did a little bit of everything. I gave it like a 3-star because to me it was a great jumping off point. I think he wrote another one about England, which I would actually like to read as well. So yeah, it was a very interesting read. I learned a lot, and I'm going to learn more when I grab the books on the subjects that I want to learn about. So I wish all history books were written like this in a way, so you can get like the whole thousands of years into like 200 pages. It's perfect. This next book is going to be controversial because I gave it quite a low rating considering how popular this book is right now. The Push by Ashley Audrain. This is actually an author from Toronto. We love local. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I feel bad because it's like, it's local and it's so popular, but I didn't. And I'll tell you why I didn't like it. I gave it a 2-star. This book, again, is The Bad Seed. And I wish it was different. Again, I think people should just read The Bad Seed because they keep just remaking it. So, this book tried to be too many things, in my opinion. This author had some excellent things about motherhood and the fears that women have about being a parent for the first time. And like, although I want children one day, I have had a lot of these fears. So it was nice to finally read about these fears. And then it went to the evil daughter trope. And it was the same as every other evil daughter trope. First of all the books that I've written about evil kids have been about daughters, and the mother is always the one that suspects it, and the dad's always super ignorant and has his blinders on. He's like, oh, but she's an angel, and blah, blah, blah. And the woman's always fucking crazy. And I'm sick of reading it. That's what it comes down to. This could have been, if this was just a drama about a woman dealing with postpartum, I would have liked this more, because that would have been a different story that I wanted to hear. Even if it was an evil son and the dad was like, fuck, you're right, our kid's evil, what are we going to do about it? I would have loved to read something like that. It's just the same as every other one I've read. And then there's this alternating narrative about the main character talking about her childhood, and her mother was abusive and left, and then the grandmother was abusive and left. And honestly, if you took that out of the story, it wouldn't have made a difference. It did not, to me, make a difference to the plot. think it was just doing too many things at once. And for me, it just didn't land. Again, if this was done differently than using the same tropes, I probably would have liked it better. But I'm sorry, guys, I just didn't like it. Another popular book I didn't like very much. I gave it a 2-star. The Night Swim by Megan Golden. I like the concept. It's a thriller, alternating chapters. You got an event that happened in the past, and the sister of the victim telling a story. Then you have this woman who's our main protagonist, Rachel. She does a crime podcast, basically like Serial, and now she's been asked to come to this small town and investigate this trial that's happening about the rape of a girl by this town's swimmer. And then you have the third thing, which is the actual podcast. I liked the podcast pieces because it's always interesting. I love true crime podcasts, especially. But I like reading the book about a podcast. This book had some really great things to say about rape culture and the trials, and how victims are forced to relive the trauma again and be attacked on the stand by the defense lawyer. It says a lot about that. That was really good. But again, did you have to make him a swimmer? Because it's basically the Brock Turner case. And Chanel Miller, actually, the victim, she was Jane Doe at the time of the Brock Turner case, but she actually just wrote her memoir about her experience. So I want to read that, and I think that this just didn't do it for me. And then when you get the twist ending, it didn't even feel right. It felt really out of place, and I didn't like it. So again, props for what it says about rape culture and all that. I like the podcast aspect, but I liked her debut better. Escape Room was way better than this. These next 2 books I'm reading with a colleague. We're doing a workbook club thing, and we both feel the same about this so far. We're struggling. The Shadow and Bone series. I have not read I haven't read the 3rd yet, but I read the first 2. Shadow and Bone and Siege and Storm. They're both by Leigh Bardugo. Netflix has adapted these, of course. And it's coming out in April. This is YA fantasy, of course, with a romance aspect, of course. I'll do a series review once I finish to go more into depth, but what I will say, I hate the main character. I hate her. She's terrible. Weak. Insecure. Flip-flops. Whiny. I can't do it. So I'll give more thoughts on these in a series review, because I do want to do a series review. But they weren't my favorite. This next one is a novella, technically, but it was interesting. A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. Basically what this book is a guy gets sent to hell, but he's a Mormon, and he was very devout, and he thought he was going to end up in heaven, except he didn't. He ended up in hell. But hell is not how we actually pictured it. Hell is, you have a chance to escape, and all the religions we've been told or know about are wrong. And it wasn't the right religion to get you into heaven. So you're stuck in hell. But hell is this infinite library that literally goes on and on and on and on. You can have whatever you want. You can never die. You can have all the meals you want. You have a bed. But you have to find 2 volumes of your life down to the word and put them in the slot, and then you can ascend to heaven. It just, I think I overhyped it to myself, which is why I gave it a 3-star. I had read that it was kind of this like dark, disturbing book, and it didn't disturb me. I wish I had went into it knowing that it was going to be a thought-provoking book. I would have probably given it a higher. And it's weird because there's a part of this book where it does start to drag, which is odd because it's 104 pages. It should not be dragging. But again, just me. I do recommend this if you just want something that will like have you sitting there going, wow, like what at the end? Because that's what this did. So 3-star, again, if you want something to just challenge your mind. But other than that, it was okay. I read another Christie. Yay. The ABC Murders. This is a Poirot as well. I gave this a 4-star because I love this book. It was so different. I don't know when she published this, but it was so dark, I think, for its time. Poirot gets a letter saying he should expect these murders to happen. And then Mrs. Asher is killed in Andover and Betty Barnard in Bexel, etc., etc. And the good thing about this book is it's a serial killer, which I don't believe Christie ever did. It's usually just, closed rooms, but this is a serial killer in different places in England, and Poirot has to figure it out. But he's also receiving taunting letters from the serial killer, kind of like the Zodiac, which I really liked that aspect of. I had 2 people in mind that I thought did it, and of course, in Christie fashion, I didn't get it. And it blows my mind because when Poirot is telling you about who finally did it and giving you the reasons as to like the motives and stuff, you're like, oh, I should have known. But you don't think about it. It's so good. It's so good. And Then There Were None is still my favorite, but this is the 4-star and it's right behind it. It's so good. I can't wait to read more of hers. Like, I definitely want to read all of them all year. So this one, definitely. This next book I read, keeping with my want to read more translated works, is a book from France. It's The Collection by Nina Legere. This book I gave a 3-star because there were some pacing issues I didn't like for being a short book. I don't know why it was paced that way, but what I will say is this book was so unique. It was unique because we're following a woman who is basically having multiple sexual encounters with multiple men in multiple different hotel rooms. And she doesn't care to know anything about them. She doesn't remember anything about them. All she knows is how she collects them in her mind by their part. I like that because I keep reading books, especially this month, about really insecure, weak female leads. And I hate that. Like, I just wanted to read like a book about like a sexually liberated woman that didn't justify her motives. I don't think women need motives. Like, I hate that in so many books, and it's how society is. Anyway, I just wanted to read a story about a sex-positive female. That's it. And it delivered. And you don't need her backstory. And you don't need to know why she does what she does, because she just fucking wants to. And I liked that. I liked that about this book. So yes, thought-provoking, a very interesting piece of feminist work that I didn't expect, and it blew me out of the water. So I gotta thank Books and Bow for recommending this in like one of his best translated books, because he was right. I really enjoyed this. So 3-star, thought-provoking for sure. I'm going to do a series review on this as well when I'm done, but I don't know when that's going to come because I need a break, because I really didn't like, oh my God, a Goodreads Choice Awards finalist for Best Romance, 50 Shades of Grey. Not good at all. very bad. I'm not going to say too much about my thoughts about this because, again, I want to do an in-depth series review and I want to do almost like an analysis about this. I'm going to roast it as well, but I don't want it to be all about that because there's a lot of controversy with these books. And all I read, I've never read a series before, and all I've read is that Christian is horrible, and he's abusive, and he's a prick, and he's the worst. And you know what? He isn't that fucking bad in this book. He's not. Like, he's really not, mind you, he could change in the second and third, but I'm trying to go in with an open mind. Anna is the fucking worst female character I have ever read. Just bad. Oh my God. So again, I'm not going to say too much about how terrible this is yet. I will say, interesting that my perspective is vastly different from what the masses have said so far. So curious to see how the second and third go, but I don't recommend it to anybody, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that for now. It's bad, but I will finish and I will do an analysis and give you all my thoughts about it, and then you might actually want to read it. We'll see, but I doubt it. And finally, I found a new all-time favorite book. I'm so happy about it. All Quiet on the Western Front by ERICH Maria Marquet. REMARQUE? I think that's how you'd say it. Anyway, this is translated from German, about the First World War, told from a German soldier. I don't normally read war books. I don't normally watch war movies. I usually have a hard time with it. Wow, this book blew my mind. The author was actually a soldier. And it shows because it's anti-war message. First of all, it says this is the greatest war novel of all time, and I see why. But it's very much an anti-war novel. It's so amazing. So amazing. It's so real. It's so, like, it's palpable when he describes things. And the way he, like, sets the scenes about the trench life and the things that he sees and the despair and the longing to, like, go home and the anger and the hurt and the suffering of others is just so real and it's palpable. He's this main character, our narrator, is 20, and he signed up with some of his friends from high school, right out of high school. So he's been in this for 2 years. And it's like, it's heartbreaking, but you can't stop reading. Because although it's really dark and heartbreaking, it is so beautifully written. It has some of the most beautiful passages I've ever read in a book, considering it's like dark subject matter. So I'm going to read a passage because I want everybody to read this friggin' book because it's so beautiful. But now for the first time, I see you are a man like me. I thought of your hand grenades, of your bayonet, of your rifle, and now I see your wife and your face and our fellowship. Forgive me, comrade. We always see it too late. Why do they never tell us that you are just poor devils like us, that your mothers are just as anxious as ours, and that we have had the same fear of death and the same dying and the same agony? Forgive me. Comrade, how could you be my enemy? If we threw away these rifles and this uniform, you could be my brother, just like Kat and Albert. Like, it's just beautiful. It's just stunning. It's a stunning, stunning book. Definitely one of my new all-time favorite books, and I can't wait to watch the movie because I usually have such a hard time, but it was just so good. Please read it. Everybody read this book. It's so good. It's amazing. I love it. So at least, you know, I did find a 5-star and a new all-time favorite. Thankfully. It's so beautiful. And that's it. So I do have some other things planned, of course. Don't know exactly when I'm going to be done those series reviews because they're not easy to get through. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to doing more videos, and I have a really interesting new kind of series plan coming up that I'm going to do once a month or twice a month. We'll see. But I'm really looking forward to doing it. So definitely more coming. So please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. I don't have an exit. Bye.